When I dream of traveling, I often imagine trips to exotic places in the far corners of the globe, the warm beaches of the Caribbean, or the chilly windswept vistas of Northern Europe. It's easy to forget that I don't have to go far to discover new things about history and people. So today, we're doing a little not too far from home travel. Let's explore the history of Dayton today on Hometown. Across our region, there are small rural towns like Dayton, Washington, focused on surviving in an increasingly urban world. Colin Powell said, "A dream doesn't become reality through magic. It takes sweat, determination, and hard work." Dayton is an excellent example of that mindset. This proud community of about 2,500 is committed to honoring its rich heritage of nearly 165 years. It continues to thrive. Let's discover what determination can do, an essential ingredient in the remarkable story of us.
Helen, if these walls could talk.
Yes, if they could, there would be a lot to say.
So Helen, you are the what here at the Boldman House?
I am officially the Boldman House coordinator, and we have events that happen during the year, so I coordinate those. And then of course, my superior is over at the Dayton Depot.
So we're here in
Karina.
We're here in Dayton, Washington, and we are in a beautiful Victorian home here.
It
It's
is.
absolutely beautiful, both on the outside and the inside. And this home is part of a determination of what we're talking about today in Hometown, about the people who have come before
Yes.
and the legacies that they're leaving
Yes.
behind. And so walk us down a little bit of the history of this home.
Well, the home was originally just a smaller version of this. This part was not part of the house to begin with. It was built from somewhere between 1890 and 1893 by a man named Wolstein. And after he was completed with that portion of the house, somehow a man named Brining, who was a merchant in town, bought it in 1893. And then later on, the Brining family, added on this whole really second half of the house.
Yeah, because we're sitting in what would be like the former parlor.
The parlor. So the upstairs bedrooms, and there was it's the only place where there actually was a basement too then. And then of course we've added basements, but.
So where did the Boldman name come in?
So we call it Boldman House because on the historical register it's actually called the Brining Boldman House. But Boldmans purchased this in 1912.
Okay.
And they bought this house so the girls could go to school in town, in Dayton, rather than a one-room schoolhouse.
And how many girls did they have?
They had 4 girls.
4 girls. Well,
Yep.
and I had a one-room schoolhouse where I went to school, so they're not all that bad.
And the 2 older ones actually went, to the one-room schoolhouse. And yes, and I've actually taught in one of those. So, no, and they're not, but I think they just wanted the girls to have that high school education, especially.
So they moved to town.
They moved to town, and Goldie and Gladys, the 2 youngest, Gladys was the youngest, was 2, and Goldie was 4.
Okay.
And so they were little girls when they moved into town. Now, the 2 older girls, one of them died in the Spanish flu. That was Minnie. And then Marie.
Hear the chiming
Right on
here in
cue.
the parlor. Time for tea, right?
Yes, 1915 clock, which one of our volunteers got it all working, and so they bought it. We have a receipt for how much they bought it for, which was, I think, $14 in 1915.
And that was probably a lot of
That
money.
was probably a lot of money. But I do want to emphasize that this was not a rich person's home. They sold that farm to buy this house. Then they bought another farm this direction from town, which we still have the land from, or the Dayton Historical Society has the land from, and they had a little house there, and so I mean he was a farmer. He worked the farm.
So Mr. Boldman would go back and forth, and so his wife and the girls were here in town, and he'd go back to the farm.
Except in the summers, as I understand it, they would go out and stay on the farm.
And would someone stay here, or would they just
That
pop
I don't
in?
know.
That'd be interesting to know.
Yeah, that I don't know.
But yes, as we're sitting here, I mean, I'm looking around at the piano, and there's a pump organ and all of the antiques that are here.
Yes.
But in that time frame, you're saying that these were just normal things to have.
These were normal things to have, and I think Gladys really wanted this house to be looked at as an educational opportunity for people to understand what it was like to live in a different age. Because, of course, she was born in 1908. She passed away in 1999, and she had seen a lot of changes.
So the family moved here in 1912, and the 4 daughters, one of the daughters passed away, and then Gladys, she's the only one, though, of the 3 daughters that left Dayton.
Yes, she did. She was the youngest, but she, after she graduated from high school, she went to what was called Walla Walla Business College at that time, and she then got a job at the Whitman when the Whitman was pretty new, and so she worked there a few years. Then she went to the West Coast, to Seattle, and she worked at 2 hotels there. Then she ended her career for about 13 or 14 years at the Boise Hotel.
Okay. Do you know what she did in the hotel?
She was a
service?
bookkeeper.
Oh, she was a bookkeeper.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then what brought her back to Dayton?
After her mother passed away, then the other daughter, Marie, needed more help. Marie and Goldie needed more help. And then, so yeah, she came back to help take care of Dad. And Dad lived until 1954. So she came back in 1946.
1946. So here she had her own career. She came back home, and none of the daughters got married, did they?
No.
So came back home in 1946, and then she lived in this home until her death.
Right. She actually was in Booker Rest Home for, I'm not quite sure the amount of time, but she passed away in 1999.
1999. But it was her wish, since she didn't have children, she wasn't married, that she then donated the house to the Dayton Historical
Society. And she had, she had her wishes lined out that she really did want this to be a showcase, so people can understand what it was like to live during that time. And she wanted it restored to the way it was when they moved in 1912.
So as we've mentioned, we are on the ground level, but there is a basement underneath us. And what all is down there?
Oh my goodness.
Treasures?
Yeah. In fact, one of the volunteers here says the upstairs and the second floor are the tip of the iceberg. What is really, there's so much more in the basement.
So storage, the laundry, but how was the floor down there back in the day?
It was dirt. Yeah, it was
floor.
dirt.
It was dirt floor. So now,
to my understanding, yes.
And the furnace is down there, and all of that.
Yep, that lovely furnace is down there, and it was a coal burning furnace. And probably one of our little rooms down there was the coal room.
Well, and after being in this home, everything is decorated so nicely. So many collections, though. These people collected things and they kept them. And as a reporter, as a newspaper woman, I love all the newspaper collections that we saw downstairs. Tell us about those.
Yes, there's a newspaper collection that goes back to the 1880s. I'm not really sure how far back it goes, but it's one of the best collections of Columbia County newspapers in Columbia County, because as I understand it, the library has a lot of newspapers, but some of theirs had been cut. And
they get damaged, and all of that.
And so, we have that. And then we have magazines that go back to 1906 on up, and they're really fun to look at.
And clothes.
Oh, yes.
The ladies were ladies here in Dayton and had collections?
Yeah, and a lot of it was from Gladys. Gladys was a career woman, so she had clothes, and she was in the hospitality industry, so she dressed up, and in those days, they really dressed up. So this is something that she might have worn.
Beautiful.
And, she, and back then, there were hats, there were gloves, there were
scarves.
Yes, scarves and matching handbags and Fur coats, the hankies. Yes, yes.
So then the upstairs, there are a couple bedrooms upstairs, and there's the little girls' room.
The little girls' room. That's where Goldie and Gladys moved into this house when they were 2 and 4. Gladys was 2, Goldie was 4. And so they spent the longest amount of time living here because they both lived in this house until they were deceased. And so, yeah, the little girls' bedroom is really fun to look at. You know, there's toys and
Tea set.
Yes, tea set. There's a picture of the girls when they were 2 and 4, a black and white, that they're having a tea party together.
Pinkies up.
Yes, and they had one of their dolls, of course, in with their little tea party, and the doll is still upstairs sitting next to the picture that we found.
So in a lot of ways, it's like time has stood still because yes, outside it's 2024, but yet you come in here and it's definitely, obviously, the Victorian theme to all of this.
I mean, there are some, but like the wallpaper in here is from the 40s or 50s. We're not sure, but it was part of the house, you know. So.
And then outside is a beautiful garden, and then there's the creek running by. So tell us about those.
Yes, the garden has been a real process and a real labor of love. We have had some wonderful volunteers who planted it, but it was designed by, I guess, a landscape architect on the West Coast, and everything that's in that garden could have been in a garden in 1912. So there's heirloom roses, but nothing in there would have been something that couldn't have been possessed. And we have wonderful volunteer gardeners that come, and they're so dedicated.
So as you're here, you're an educator, and you're retired, and what does this mean for you to be a part of the history of Dayton now, and to see the determination of the people who've come before and the gift of this home to Dayton?
I'm in awe, and I feel kind of possessive of the house. Not that it's my house, but I love it, and I think that it shows there was a lot of love put into this place because it took them from 2000 to 2008 working on this with volunteers, and then of course they had to follow all the guidelines and everything, but so it was a labor of love, but a labor of lot more than just 5 volunteers. There's many volunteers then, and we have pictures of them, and they look like they were having fun at times.
Yeah, well, this is good.
Yeah, and we have a radio that's in the living room that was restored by Dwayne Dunlap and Larry Fitzgerald, and so it works. We can still get the AM on it, and so yeah, there's just lots of things that are around here that.
And you also have mentioned that there are the diaries, the letters, and so many things that are still here that haven't even been peeked at.
No, I haven't read them. Now Sylvia has written, or one of the ladies who was in my position has read a lot of the journals and diaries and letters. I don't know. I feel kind of invasive when I start looking at things like that.
And isn't that the truth, though? You know, some people, they decide to burn everything, and here you have this family who decided to keep everything and not donate it to somebody else or have a yard sale.
When they came in here, when the volunteers came in here in 2000, when they first were able to take control, there were just pathways in here, and everything was in boxes and bins, and, you know, everything that you see in this house is from them, but all the paper products and everything, the newspapers, everything would have been in here and downstairs, and so yes.
And one thing that I think about just as we're sitting here is just how tight this house is. I'm not hearing any breeze. It's quiet and all of that. So.
Yes, it's a tight little house, except of course when you walk on the boards there are some
you can hear that,
but
just the wind and all of that outside.
Yeah.
So someone who's watching this and they think, oh man, I really want to go to Dayton and I want to take a little trip, and so what are your hours? Do people make an appointment?
We would love to have you Thursday, Friday, Saturday. In the winter it's from 10 to 4, and then starting May 1st, then we're here from 11 to 4. And then in the summer, we're 10 to 5.
Okay. Well, thank you so much.
Come and visit us.
Yes. Well, thank you for having us here at Hometown and to share about the determination of some of the people here in Dayton.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Karina, it's great to be here at the Dayton Depot with you. You are museum director. Tell us a little bit about the depot. It wasn't originally here, so how did it get here?
The interesting thing about this depot is that it was built on the other side of town. So at the bottom of Rock Hill, which is on the south end of town, just across the Touchy River, is where they decided to build the depot. And that was in 1881. And it existed out there for about 20 years, maybe just shy of 20 years. And they put it out there for a reason. Right next to the Touchy River is right where they had the logging industry, and so they'd pick up logs and be able to transport them out. It was a really efficient way to get produce and logging material out to Portland.
Okay, but then how come it came here into Dayton?
So really interesting was that after about 1900, Dayton became a bustling little city. The population in Columbia County had rose to almost 7,000 people, and this was like a bustling little downtown. The town of Dayton actually rallied to have a commercial street right here turned into tracks, and they had the depot moved here to 2nd and Commercial, so it was a more central location to their downtown activities. It was much easier for farmers who were having great success with their wheat farms to be able to send all of their stuff out through the downtown area.
So getting your produce somewhere was really, really important. First it was logging, then produce.
Right.
Yeah.
So Dayton started out with, it would have been cattle ranching initially, and this is like early 1860s. But about 1880 to 1900, wheat farming was king. So wheat, barley, and oats, that was really the great thing that really brought Columbia County and Dayton really onto the map. We were the biggest town in Washington Territory.
You love it.
3rd behind Walla Walla and Seattle. So we were quite a bustling little metropolis.
Just a little hub here for sure. And I'm thinking about how challenging it would be to move a building this size, maybe even today, but especially back then.
Absolutely. They had to jack this whole building up, and this is the whole building. They could have tore it down and rebuilt it, but no. They decided to jack up the whole building, putting it on rolling logs, and moved it across town. So it's like 6 blocks of town and over the Touchy River using rolling logs, horse pulleys, and capstans, which are a really interesting type of pulley system that helps leverage a heavy building. It would have been crawling. It took them 6 weeks.
6 weeks to roll it over here.
Yes.
And put it on a new foundation here. So,
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, this is an amazing, amazing place. And I'm trying to think about how it impacted, and you've talked about that a little bit but the impact that it had on the community then to have the depot here.
Absolutely. This town was doing, like I said, great with all of their agricultural ventures. Sending out produce to Portland was the best way to make money as a farmer. And before there were trains, you'd have to do it by horse. So you'd have to set up wagons and get a whole team of horses and send out your wheat or vegetables or whatever you're trying to sell. And that was incredibly inefficient. They decided that a railroad system would be a much better choice, and especially since the farming was doing so well, the people just needed something that was going to be able to hold on to the produce that they were being able to make.
Sure. So now compared to some of the larger cities in our state, we would certainly consider Dayton small. When did that change kind of happen where it didn't continue to grow and become what we would now consider a big metropolis?
So we got hit pretty hard with the Depression. It was probably one of the biggest blows to our economy here in Dayton, and we lost a lot. I think about 1/3 of the sales or Main Street operations had shut down, and there were so many farmers, small-time farmers, that lost the ability to farm and had to sell their properties to much bigger institutions. And so the Depression was really difficult. But after the Depression, we got the vegetable processing facility, which eventually became Green Giant, ended up helping us get through that. And it did provide a lot of jobs and a lot of work and stability for people in Dayton afterwards. But no, we're pretty small now. I think Columbia County is right about 4,000 people. So
Yes.
and we're holding strong right there.
So this place now is still really important because it's a window for us into how things used to be, how they were built, how they operated, a chance for us to learn about our history and really the incredible fortitude of people who came before us. So how is that important now for, I guess, tourism, for visitors who come here, for people who want to learn about history?
Yeah, so it's important to have historical sites like the Depot because they are a tangible connection to the past. They are a way for us to showcase this and educate young minds that are coming in, any new generations that want to learn about the past and learn about heritage. It is always important to have a really strong historical site such as this. And I think that the Depot does a really good job of that because it is such an iconic local celebrity that people just love. And we have an enormous amount of love and support that comes from the community through volunteers and people that have just put in so much work here. And it's important, and it's a piece of iconic pride for Dayton to have this Depot here.
Absolutely, and it's beautiful. It really is. You know, you've done so much with it inside and out to keep it looking great and just being a fun place to visit.
Yeah.
So do trains ever come by?
Absolutely. We still get trains coming by every once in a while, and they come and they shoot their horn by here, and it's loud as ever.
The tracks are very close to the Depot.
Absolutely, yes. Be very careful on the boardwalk. I love it when the trains go by. It gives you a real sense of nostalgia. It makes you really feel like you're back in time because you're standing in this 143-year-old depot and you're really watching trains go by. It's amazing.
So do you have visitors come by throughout the year? Do you know about how many come by?
We get about 2,000 visitors coming through our door, and that depends. We have several special events throughout the summer that really bring in those tight waves. But we do get a lot of travelers that are coming through between Walla Walla, Lewiston, and Spokane and the Tri-Cities, and it's always a good stop in Dayton to stop at the Depot.
So in addition to what we see here kind of in the main waiting area where we're chatting and the beautiful outside of the Depot, you have an exhibit upstairs too. Tell us about that.
That's correct. We have in our upstairs exhibit, which includes a converted space of our station agents' apartment space. The exhibit is Heritage Barns of Columbia County, and it's a expose on some photography of some old barns in the Columbia County and their architectural interests and history behind them. It's a great exhibit. It's kind of a redo that the museum had on display back in 2008, but we've refreshed the exhibit and added new barns. We have 4 new barns that we've added to the historic register in Columbia County. And we've added in more photography, and we even have some things that were found in one of the barns as one of the barn owners was doing some renovations, and he found some old things in the wall, including a old Ghirardelli chocolate box, which is kind of an interesting find in a barn.
Yes.
And we also have a jar full of glass, which was collected by an individual who, as they were doing renovations, they were just kind of finding pieces of old china, kind of some aged glass pieces, and they just little fragments of history that you can tell that they're old and you can tell that they served a purpose at one point in the past, and it's really interesting to see.
Yeah, that's fun. So you mentioned the station agent apartment. So he lived here with family, or?
So that's an interesting question. We have some indication of about a dozen different agents occupying the depot here at any given time. We always had somebody living upstairs from the time it opened in 1881 until the time it closed down in 1971. That's 90 years. And the apartment space probably held a station agent, and if he had family, and we believe that the station agents, though they were fairly young gentlemen, they actually moved around with the trains quite a bit. And so as they worked here for a couple of years, they may have gotten a promotion or moved on to another place. So we believe that there were probably single gentlemen for the most part, though it has all the accoutrements upstairs in the apartment to house a wife and kids if necessary. There's kitchen, there's multiple bedrooms, all the good stuff. Although the second bedroom no longer exists, as we have changed it into our exhibit gallery. But the station agent would have had an excellent commute because it would have been about 16 steps downstairs, and then his desk is here right in the ticketing office. So I think that's a pretty good commute.
That is a great commute. And you know that person's always there for you, reliable when you need them at the station.
Exactly. Yes, you can tell that the station agents were dedicated to their job. One of my favorite features of the agent's bedroom upstairs is that there's a little window down by the floor next to the bed so that he could see the trains going by.
I love it. That's so great. Yeah. Really fun. Well, this is a treasure here in our community, and a treasure for Dayton. And I would certainly encourage people to come and look and learn about the past, understanding, the value. You might want to say a little bit more about the value of understanding who came before us.
Yeah, I think that the culture that people develop is really important to instill in young minds. And I think that there's a lot of history with a lot of meaningful events in it, and people that experience those historical events have stories to share, and we have those stories here in our collections, and we'd love to share them with people that are interested. Mm-hmm. And it's a colorful history. I think Dayton has a wonderful, colorful history, and we're ready to share.
So we can just encourage people to come out and see it, because especially a lot of our audience is in the Walla Walla Valley, in the Walla Walla area, and it's just not very far to drive over here and have a great day experiencing some of the history in Dayton.
Yeah.
Hey, Karina, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Enjoyed being able to chat with you.
Yes, loved it. Absolutely great. Thank you.
History is full of stories and perspectives. Proverbs 15:18 says, "The heart of the discerning acquires knowledge, for the ears of the wise seek it out." Sometimes we dream of faraway vistas to acquire that knowledge. Yet there are many stories to inspire us and offer us wisdom and knowledge right here, close to home. Learning local stories of our history from people of different perspectives and backgrounds provides the knowledge we need to build our own communities today. Rather than focusing on things outside our control, we can refocus our determination in a way that honors and loves our close neighbors. So some weekend when you're looking for something inspiring, come to Dayton and meet our neighbors. Okay, guys, let's get some ice cream before we head home, and see you next week on our next episode of Hometown.